Now the Salesforce information itself is split into 3 parts. Okay, so, all right. Now, in order to view, right, what you are typically using is the user's perspective. Let's talk about the user's perspective. The user is seeing the front end of the application, right? The user interface. UI means user interface, right? So that's where you have the buttons, the lists, and everything. So if you go to the application and if you click on the app launcher, let's say you go to service or sales, right? So everything you see here, that's your user interface, right? So you have your user interface. I'll change the color of this one so you can recognize this. Okay, so this is your user interface. And then in order for the user interface to run properly, there are 2 components, right? So what we are doing, we are primarily doing the job of an administrator, right? So this is an administrator. You can administer the application. That means you can create pages, you can grant access, set up pages and so forth. But we have not done a whole lot of development. That's something we want to start a little bit today, just so you get some context. Does that make sense? Now, these are happening, development and administration. Now, apart from development administration, in order for the user to see this information, right? So what I mean by that is if you open a record, right? If you click on the edit button, what should happen? Where is that sitting? Is it sitting here, here, or here? Go ahead. Does anybody want to take a guess? Can
you repeat the question?
Yeah. See, what I'm saying is this is your laptop, right? So user, when I say user interface, Shobha, this is your laptop. Now, my question is this, like for example, the layout that you see here, right? All the information that you see here about a case, or if you're like, for example, if you look at an account, right? This list of accounts, this layout is called the user interface. Now, when I click on it, again, my way I interact with it, this is the user interface, right? So that's the user interface. Now, my question is, where is this button, information about the button, where is that sitting? Like for example, if we click on a new case, or if I click on, for example, add a task, right? Where is logic for all of this sitting? Is it part of this, or is it part of the admin or dev module?
It's a part of admin and dev.
Right, it's part of admin and dev. Admin is what you can usually do without code. So this is usually no code, but you can also do development without code, but development can be with or without code. We'll talk about, there are 2 types of development. So one is clicks and the other one is called code. Okay, so we'll explore a little bit of that also today. Okay, but okay, then the next question is, where is this record sitting? Like Aditi's test account, or if I go to Indian Sweets and Spices, where is this information sitting? Suzanne, where do you think? Yeah, so everything is in the cloud, right? So that's on a database. Okay, now behind the scenes, actually outside of the Salesforce organization is Oracle database. Okay, that's where it sits, but nobody can touch Oracle database because Salesforce basically, it's like the kitchen of a restaurant. You cannot go into the kitchen. Even if you go, you can only tour it. You cannot go and throw in your own spices. You can ask for them. You say, okay, hey, I want half plate, or I want more spicy, less spicy, but you cannot go into the kitchen and start messing with stuff, right? So think of this as a kitchen, right? This is the food on the plate, and this is the cook who's basically taking the ingredients and making things up. Loose analogy, it's not very watertight, but you get the idea, right? So the data is sitting here. All your records are technically sitting here, right? And then all your objects are part of these 2 layers, right? So you have your objects and your design, your logic, everything is sitting in your database layer. And this is your user interface. This is your browser, for example, right? Just say browser, and then we'll talk about the layers. So this is your logic layer. Okay, people use different names for it, but whether they say objects layer or design layer or user logic layer, it's the same thing. Okay, and then what is behind the scenes is your data layer. Okay, this is your, one second. All right, are you guys with me so far? It's not complicated, but I want to just make sure you understand this, right?
Yes.
And then the other piece of information is that this is called your user interface or the UI layer. Some people call it UI, some people call it UX. Any idea, any guesses on what the X is here? UI is user interface. What do you think X is here? Take a guess.
Example?
No, take it, keep trying. All right, guys, anybody?
Exterior?
Think you're pretty close. Keep going. Anybody wants to take a guess what X is?
Interface, outerface kind of thing?
X is actually experience, user experience. Okay, it's the same concept, right? Okay, do you guys understand this at a very high level? Again, we are talking about super high level. Now, what Salesforce is generally called a multi-tenant architecture. All right, this is some couple of things you need to be aware of, when you're, whether you're entering data or administering the application, that Salesforce is a multi-tenant architecture. Any guesses on what that word tenant means? Right, we all had tenants or have been tenants at some point, correct? So tenant is somebody who rents, right? So none of us own the Salesforce software. We are basically renting it. Luckily for us, we're getting for free, but the companies that I work for, they pay for this, right? But this is like living in an apartment, right? Everybody's sharing the water, so they have some controls on it, and those controls are called governor limits. Okay, and we'll go through those later on, but I just want you to be aware of governor limits are basically saying, okay, hey, you can only have so many interfaces, you can only create so many records, or you can only have so many current users making certain requests on the application. Those are governor limits. Just be aware that there's the term governor limit, and its goal is to make sure that all the tenants, that means, let's say we have a small shop like Indian Sweets and Spices, can be on the same server that is also serving Tesla, or that is also serving, for example, General Motors. Does it make sense? So these are called the governor limits. Okay. All right. All right. Now let's talk about how a user is set up. Now there are two different types of applications.
It's on mute.
Okay. Can you guys name one cloud each? Go ahead, Abhinav, you want to start? Name a cloud.
Field access and one of the
No,
four.
what are the clouds? We talked about four
Sales Cloud.
clouds. Sales Cloud.
Service Cloud.
Yeah. Suzanne, your turn.
She's not there.
Oh, she's not there.
Marketing Cloud.
Marketing Cloud is the third one. All right.
What's the fourth one?
Service Console.
Service Console is a type of service cloud, right?
Oh.
So the fourth cloud is, see, we talked about sales, service, marketing. Now, part of an extension of the Sales Cloud is called Commerce Cloud. That's the one. If you think of shopping cart, that's a Commerce Cloud. Okay, so those are the four clouds. Mostly e-commerce companies have a Commerce Cloud. Most others, Sales Cloud is good enough for them. All right, so there are different types of applications. You have the internal application, right? So you can be an internal user and use the application. Okay, so this is an internal user, and then apart from internal user, there are three types of external users. Okay, so what they do is these are called communities. Okay, so what are the different communities? So one is a employee community. Okay. Employee communities are generally part of internal. So let's talk about partner community. So one is a partner community, and then the other one is a customer community. So you can have a community like where people can go into your website and access Salesforce. Okay, so that is a customer community. So these are when you think of community, you can think of public website. Okay. Now, if you go to Costco, right? So Costco is partly public website, but it also has login, password, and maybe Costco has another interface where all its vendors can work with, right? So these are generally private websites. That means only people with access or only certain groups of individuals or companies are allowed to access those. Okay, so that's something you want to be aware of. Okay, so then let's talk about
It's on mute.
It's going on mute. Sorry for that. Okay, so all right, guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we are talking about how to set up a user, right? So we have user, and typically it's the administrator behind the wall, right? So this is a wall, and you're looking at how do you access information. So the first thing, you know, a user will provide email address and contact information like name and such. Okay, so the user will provide this information in an email or something, and then the administrator will create, right? The administrator will create a user. Now, in order to create a user, we talked about several things yesterday, right? So one of the first things you need in order to get access is you need a login, right? You need an account, user account, right? So where do you create a user? Let's go check out the application, right? So I'm going to go to setup. Anybody has any guesses on where to create a user?
Yeah, setup and quick find user. In the quick find, yeah.
Right. Anything that you don't know, you can try it out. I need you guys to do tab for tab, even if you know this, right? And then you can create a new user. Does that make sense? So you click on new user and you can enter the details. So let's have this screen open so you get a sense of, you know, what are the things that you need. Right? So you have basic information like, okay, hey, what's my title, what's my phone number, and so forth, right? But apart from that, I need three things. I need to identify what license I have. Do I have a Salesforce license? Do I have, you know, Chatter license, and so forth? Okay, so let's go back here, and then as a administrator, I need to be aware of what are the things I need, right? So one of the things I need is I need licenses, right? I can assign a license to the user so that they can get access. And then what is the other thing I need? Let's go back. See, anything that you don't have to depend on memory at all, right? Then you need a profile. How many profiles can you have at a time?
One.
Right? So you need a profile, and you can also have one profile and many permission sets. All right. Okay. All right, Abhiram, what's the next thing you need apart from profile and permissions? We have already got license.
Role.
What else? You need a role.
Role.
Can you be louder, Abhiram, so the team can hear you?
Yeah, role. Sorry. Role.
Role. Right? So you need a role. Okay. Now the profile itself will in turn control what screens you have access to, what apps you have access, and so forth. Correct? So roughly, this one controls the apps you get access to. And what does role control?
It controls just like where you are in the hierarchy.
Records.
Right? It controls the records. Yes, it tells you where you are in the hierarchy, but beyond hierarchy, you can also do sharing and other things. And end of the day, if you say, okay, you have access to a website or an application, you log into your bank account, you are able to do transfers, you're able to check your balance, you're able to, you know, send money, receive money, and so forth. So you are able to do a lot of transactions, but you also are able to look at your data. Right? You're able to see how many dollars came in and went out. That's all data. Correct? You need access to both. There's no point in clicking buttons if information is not moving. And you don't want random information. You want information that's relevant for you. Correct? And license essentially controls, you know, whether you have access to information at all. Right? Okay, so roughly those are the things you need, and then you are able to send that information. Okay, now what can the user do? Let's talk about what the user can do and what the administrator can do. Okay, and we are only talking specifically in the context of creating a user or helping a user maintain, right? So before we switch screens, let's see. Now you also indicate whether this is a marketing user. To me, these are all the different types of licenses. So broadly, these all cover different capabilities. So these are like, special capabilities, right? You have access to knowledge, you have access to service cloud, sales cloud. Those are all maybe a part of licenses. Okay, all right. So what, apart from this, you specify basic information. That's all great, but the admin user can do what, right? So let's say I'm already set up. If I'm already set up, I can go here. Can I have everybody go here and click on settings? So as a user, you can see your settings. Can you guys do that? Go to your user and see your settings. So here you can control some of the stuff. Okay, you can set a calendar, you can take care of your email settings and so forth. Okay, are you guys with me so far? So the user can manage some of it. So where do you go to find it? You click on the icon here. This is a view profile. Click on view profile and click on settings. Did you guys understand that?
Yeah.
So you go to view profile and settings. That will tell you what you can do as a user, right? Now, apart from that, what about the administrator? Where does administrator go in order to control a user? If you are an administrator, where do you go?
Positions, like
Right? Yeah.
Organization.
You can go to organization to control everybody, but if you want to control one particular user, what do you do? I don't know why I'm getting this. Right? So what I do is I go to setup and I can search for users. And this entire module here, it helps me control various things. Correct?
yes.
So as a user, I can control all those different aspects of a user. I can control who the users are, what they have access and all that. And all that is happening not through my profile, but through settings. And where do I go? Settings and users. Got it? And then I'll just, so I can grab a quick screenshot. So are you guys paying attention? Are you guys working? Guys, I need you to follow tab for tab.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, if you want to find a user, you go to user, click on settings, and here you can see all the details about the user. Okay. That I want to just get familiar with it, so you get comfortable with understanding. Okay, hey, what the user, like for example, let's check. I want you guys to find out if the user can change their password. Okay, you are a user. Tell me if you can change your password.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want everybody to figure out how to do it, and then Shobha, tell us how you do it. Where do you do it?
Yeah, same like settings.
Yeah.
And change my password.
Correct, right? If you want to set up your timing, you want to do a lot of things, you can change your email and so forth. So you can set it up, correct?
Yes.
Good. All right. So there are things that an administrator can do, but can a user change their role?
No.
No. Can you change your profile?
Yes.
Where?
Profiles.
A user.
Not
This is a user view, right? The user is different from administrator. I'm saying if you are a user, let's say I log in as Aditi, then I should be able to see these things, right? Just so you guys know, I can show you, right? So I can search for the user. If you want to log in as somebody, you just search for them. Okay. Can everybody search for their user? And then these are a couple of things you can do. You can reset their password, you can share access, you can log in as them, you can also freeze. Those are the things that a user can do that an administrator can do that a user can, right? So what can you do? You can freeze, you can log in as them, and you can reset the password. Like if somebody says, this is a constant request, people keep forgetting their passwords, then at a click of a button you can reset their password. Does that make sense? See, I can change, freeze, reset password, and so forth. When you reset password, it will say, okay, hey, do you want to reset the password? Then it will go, and an email will go out to them. Okay, you want to change any other profiles, you do from here. Does that make sense? So this is about creating a user, right? If you're creating a user, you get requests, and then what happens when a user account is created? Do you guys remember what happened?
When it's created?
When you create an account the first time on Salesforce, what happens?
It sends you an email.
Exactly. Can you be a bit louder, clearer,
It sends you an email to confirm.
right? So you get a sends confirmation email, and then you use that email to verify your account and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to make sure you are aware of that. That's going to be key. All right. So that's basically from a user's perspective, right? User's job is to do this. And then the users is not there to just create an account. What's the main job? What's the main reason the user is using the application?
To access
To
data.
create account.
To create accounts, contacts. So basically to access apps. Actually, they're not even interested in apps so much. They're interested in functionality and data that's bundled into the apps, right? So they're interested in apps, they are interested in data. That's what they want to do. Correct? And that way, they make the request, and based on who they are, they send all the information, and then they get that information back. Give me 1 second, I'll convert this into an app. All right, do you guys have any questions so far?
No.
No, it's fairly straightforward, correct? Now, but this is also foundational, so I want to make sure you guys understand this. This is key, right? So here I say send a confirmation email. Suzanne, were you able to post the videos by any chance?
I downloaded them. I'll do
Okay.
it today.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have total of videos, so I'll do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay. And then here you're basically providing information, right? You're requesting access, and then you get access based on, what you need. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So we have some of the basics down, and then what I want to do is maybe briefly touch upon a couple more features. Let me go back here. Okay, let's go to Sales Cloud, and I want to see if you guys have, let's spend 5 minutes on the Sales Cloud. Can everybody please go to Sales Cloud? This is your Sales Cloud. Okay, so click on Sales. All right, so if you open any of these objects, right, what you will see is there's a recurring theme here, right? You see some information that is pretty much constant, right? Whether you go to opportunities or leads, it's very similar. You may get some additional buttons or actions. These are called actions. Okay, this is a setup where you can create list views. Okay, this is your drop down. What is this called? pin, right? So you can just, what you do is if you want to unpin it, you can pin another list. So pin means you're basically saying, okay, hey, this is what, whenever I come to this page, I want to see this. So instead, if I want to go to today's leads, right, I can select this and I can pin it, right? So earlier I was on, what was I on? Recently viewed, right?
Recently viewed.
Recently viewed leads. Now I went here, right? So if I go to opportunities and then I go back, I see I am on today's leads. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now what does new do? New button
Create new lead.
Create new opportunity.
creates a new lead, right? So this is the built-in functionality. Import.
We can import the data.
So if you import, how many of you have imported data into Salesforce?
I did.
You can see hands.
I did.
Okay, Jyotsna and Suzanne, have you had a chance to import data?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right, we can do that, and then Shobha can give a demo of that. All right, Shobha, in 10 minutes.
I don't remember that much, but I will try.
Try, yeah. And do you have the spreadsheet? Otherwise, you can just make a simple spreadsheet for leads. Okay.
Oh,
All right, and yeah, we will talk. So we have new, and then if you get stuck, of course, I'm here to assist. So we have a new button. When you click on new, you create a new record. Correct? Now this is the pop-up window, right? Okay. Now add to campaign. What add to campaign does is, let's say you have some leads, right? You have some open leads, or let me go to my, actually, let me look at my open lead. Maybe I have a filter. I'm going to get rid of all my filters. My filters are basically preventing me from seeing the data I need to see. So I have all these leads. So for example, I select these two guys and I can assign them to a campaign. Do you guys, does everybody remember what a campaign is? Yeah, Jyotsna?
Yeah, telling about, campaigning about the product or whatever we are able to sell.
Correct. Yeah. So you can add these users to a campaign. You click on add and add them to a campaign. And if you have one or more campaigns, you can do that. Okay. So right now what I want to do is, okay, if you want to change the status. So what you can do is here, this is a detail view, right? This is called a detail view. And then if you want to go to a list view, you can go back or you can click on this. This is a list view. What's the difference between a list view and a detailed view?
list
View
view.
is some
Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne.
where you have the list of leads.
Yeah.
All the list of leads, and detail is like it gives you a detail of one particular lead when you select a lead.
That's right. See, most of the time you are changing one record at a time, right? If you want to change Betty, you click on Betty, and if you want to go to details, and then you can either click on the pencil or sometimes you have an edit button here, right? Pencil opens up a single cell, whereas the edit button opens up the entire record. This is a record. A single record is shown to you here. Okay, whereas a pencil is basically, you don't have to open the entire record. You can write your phone number. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can click on save. All right. Okay, so what is submit for approval? Okay, actually, let me go back to the list view. So if I want to go back to the list view, I can click on the drop down here under leads and then go to my all open leads. Okay, all right, new button, import. Shobha will give a demo in a couple of 10 minutes, and then you can add records to a campaign. What does change status do, Abhiram?
Change status just changes the status between
For
leads.
lead, right? Now, usually if I want to change the status, let's say I want to change Andy's status from closed one to closed last, I can click on this and mark as current status, right? So now suddenly I change Andy's status from one to last. Make sense? Okay. Now, this is one way to do it. But what if I want to select, let's say, all records that start with J. Okay, Jack, Jeff, John's, and I want to change all their status at once, right? So I can change their status to, let's say I disqualify all of them. Can you guys do it? So you can update multiple records in one shot. Now if I go to Jack, Jack's status will be disqualified. Okay. So you check the box and you can update it. If I go to Jeff, same thing, it's disqualified. Make sense? So these are action items. What does change owner do? Who's the owner of the record? Do you guys all have Kathy Snyder, for example?
Yeah.
Okay, so open Kathy Snyder and find out who the owner is. Or if you are on the list view also, you can see who the owner is, right? So I want to pick all records that start with K. So that's 2 records, right? Or all the records that start with the letter P. So Pamela, Pat, Patricia, Phyllis, I can take all these 4 and then I can change their owner, right? Who's the current owner? In my case, it is Firewall Consulting is owner. In your case, it will be your name, right? What you can do is you can change ownership and give access to the other person, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just remember these names. Okay, just remember these names for a second. And I'm going to just I'll just create a duplicate tab. Can everybody do this? Create a duplicate tab and then search for your user. Okay, can you search for the second user you created? So what did I do? I searched for the person's name and then I should land in this page, right? This was her title, and then you also have a profile for this person. So you can click on user detail and then you can log in as this person. Okay. All right. Now, if you log in as this person, right, and then go to leads, I want to check if I see Pamela and others, right? Oh, okay. This is again, it's forcing me to log on. Okay. So we remember all the leads started. There were 4 leads that started, right? So again, if you set up leads as open or not, right? So here, for example,
that option to,
right? So here, if you see, I have 4 users whose owner is different. Yes. Now you can also, that's because we made the leads as public. If you remember the organizational wide default, we made everybody public, right? So that way people were able to see all the lead records. You generally do that to leads and contacts, but the owner is still Firewall Consulting. So if you want to change the owner, what you need to do is then you need to log in as yourself. So here we are talking about changing ownership of a record. Give me 1 second. Let me just close the tab, log in. Okay, and let's go here. Go to, was it under sales? Yeah, go to sales and I'll go to leads and I can change owner. That means it controls who the owner is. Once I change the owner, it will switch to this other person. In my case, it is Aditi, right? So what I'll do is I'll select Pamela, Pat, Patricia, and Phyllis and change the owner. And if you have a whole bunch of users, it will show you who the users are. Otherwise, you can search for them. Okay, so I'll select Aditi and then it will even send an email notification to this person. Okay, and make sure you take a second to read it. Can everybody do this action? Select a couple of records and change owner. So when you change the owner, then not only is the record lead going, but also any open activities, right? So if they were supposed to make a phone call or send an email or meet with them, anything you have in your activities that are open, that means not completed yet, all of them will go to the owner, the new owner. So I can click on, make sure, are you guys able to do this? Yeah. So if you click on submit, And then the ownership has changed. So if you see here, now the ownership is Aditi. You got it? Okay, let me know if you're able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now this is to search the list itself. And you can, as you can see here, there are certain things that are not searchable, right? So these are not searchable. You have to use filters instead. Okay. All right. Jyotsna, what's the difference between searching and filtering? Sorry, sorting and filtering.
Sorting is according to the alphabetical order, like that.
Yeah. Correct. So I can sort, right? So I can
Yeah.
sort based on lead status or alphabets on an email or phone number and so forth. So that's sorting. What else? What is
Filtering.
filtering?
Filtering means whatever we want to find.
Correct. Okay. All right, Abhinam, can you do a filter?
Yeah, so
Okay. So let's, yeah, go ahead.
yes, you click on this, like, I don't know
Yeah.
what is it, like a funnel?
That's a funnel. Yeah, exactly. Funnel is a filter. Yeah.
And then you just click add filter.
Yeah.
And then
so you can click on a filter, add filter, and then you can add things. Like for example, here I want to say, okay, hey, I want the email to include something, or I want the, for example, state. I can even search for that, right? So let me see if I can search for. I cannot search for that field. What's the field called? I can use state or province. State of province. If you can just type and it will point to that page. Okay. And then you say, okay, hey, state is not equal to California, right? And that's a filter. And if you click on save, only then it will run. Right? So it says list view has been updated. So it kind of gives you, this is a notification, right? And if you don't want the filter, you just X out of it. Okay. Now this is to search. So the things that you typically do are searching, filtering, and sorting. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. And then the next one is viewing the list views. Okay. So these are all, see, this is a list view. We have so many views, right? Now what you can do is you can create a new view, or you can clone an existing view and you can rename a new view, right? So you can change these views. Does that make sense? So you can also change the sharing setting on this view, right? Who can see the view? You create a view, you can say, okay, only I can see it. That means it's a private view, right? All users can see it. That means it's a public view. Or you can share this view, and then you can select which group it belongs to. Later on, you'll learn how to create groups of people, so you can send information to groups of people. Does that make sense? So you can create your views. See, let's say you have 10 call center reps, and each call center rep, or maybe you have two call center reps. One works with men, the other works with women. Or you have 50 call center reps. One is assigned per state in US, right? So then they can make their own list. So if I work with California, and let's say, Suzanne, you work with Kansas, then you'll select Kansas, I'll select California. So then I can make a private view. I don't need to see your records. You don't need to see my filters or my views, even though we both have access to the same data. Okay, so that's what this sharing is. Okay, you can also edit the filters. You can select what fields to display. Can you show me how to display different fields?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, and now you can also do two things. You can select what fields you want. You can also change the order of the fields. Okay, so make sure you understand that you have plenty of control, right? But you cannot add any field that's not already on this object. Correct? Let's say a 4-digit zip code, right? In US, you have 5 plus 4, 9 digits, right? So 4-digit zip code is not there, then you cannot add it. If you want to add a new field, where do you go? Shobha, where do you go? If you want to add a brand new field to leads.
it will come the like visible fields.
Visible is what you're what you're saying is, okay, hey, if field is already there, you go from available to visible.
Hmm.
Correct? This is
Yes.
to change the order. Those two I'm clear, right? Now my next question is if you want to add a brand new field here, like a new field, okay,
We can
where
see
you
in the
put,
detail section.
let's say Twitter, you want to get their Twitter account or you want to get their WhatsApp account information here, right? So where would I add that information?
Uh, mm, uh, 1 second, I will tell you.
Yeah, that's fine. Take your time.
Like fields.
Right. So you have to go to setup and add a field for this person, right? For this object. So what's the name of this object here, Suzanne? All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this object is called leads. Okay. Now, okay. So this is once you made it selection, if you want to refresh it, that's one way you can refresh even before you save, right? So for example, I change this. I want to refresh. I want to see how it looks like, right? And then I can save it. You can do that. Let's see what else is there. This is to edit your list. Let me go here. Let me cross out the filter. Give me a second. Let me just refresh this screen. I'm still in leads. And then if I click on edit list, I can edit the records directly in here, right? So I can click on this and it lets me edit, right? If I want to change, let's say this person's status, I can click here and change the status. Make sense? And then I save it. I have to make sure I save it or I can cancel it if I don't want to save it. Okay, now this one actually shows you charts of this, which is pretty neat, right? So you can get a chart of what's happening here. So right now there are 21 records, as you can see here. Can everybody click on charts? Remove all the filters from your leads and then shows charts, right? So you can see I have my leads fall in 4 different buckets, right? So I have different, they're organized by lead sources. I can also change what I need, but right now this is the grouping I have. Okay, all right, we already saw the filter, and then this is where you can see 2 more actions. So these are all called actions, right? So you can send an email, send email list, or you can do a printable view, right? We'll go into data in a little more detail, but Shobha, are you ready to do an import?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing and I'll have Shobha share. Okay.
So sharing, like in my system, like I'm unable to share the screen.
So you're on share the screen. Okay. Then let me just
One
show
second,
me.
I will try.
Yeah. Then if you want to share, then I have to stop sharing. Let me stop that. Share. Stop share. All right. I stopped sharing, Shoma. If you want to try sharing it.
I tried, but it's not like working. I'm like I'm at present like I'm sharing the screen.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I'll have Abhiram show us how to do it. Do you have a list on the screen? You don't have a spreadsheet?
I have spreadsheet, but I don't have any like. I didn't put in the data like from online.
Okay, all right. I'll show you guys for this time, but let's see. All right, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if let's say you want to add 5 new records, right? The quickest way to add a record is, let's say you select a couple of records just for reference, and then you export them. That way you get a template. Okay, so you can export this data. Let me see. Wait. Right now I'm not able to export it from here. So that means I'll have to, this is the printable view. The printable view is pretty much useless. I can see the names. So these are the fields I need, but I need to do a mapping, right? So let's see. Right now, let's say I'll just copy this, right? That's what did I do here? I went here. Can everybody do this along me? Just click on printable view. So I just go to the show more actions. One of the actions is printable view. So click on this. And then what I want to do is I want to make it, I want to just, let's see. Earlier it was letting me copy paste. Okay, that's good. All right. So I'm going to just drag my screen to a couple of fields. So select these fields.
We have
right?
an option like print this page, right?
Yeah, you can print it, but what I want to do is instead of printing, I want to just create a simple export file. Okay, because my goal is to show you import. Remember, one of the action items is import. That's what I want to show you. Okay? If you want to import, then you need to have a.
You can print as a PDF file.
I know, but I cannot import a PDF file. It has to be either a Excel or a comma separated file.
Okay.
Right? So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a spreadsheet. Now, I don't know if all of you have some kind of a spreadsheet on your computer, but go ahead, open your spreadsheet and then paste. You can paste this data. Okay. Now my data is formatted. So I'm going to just go here, right click, paste special. Okay. How many of you have a spreadsheet or some kind of a, you have sheets, Abhiram? Search for sheets on MacBook. Suzanne, you should also have sheets. Is it called sheets? What is it called? Yeah. What is the software called? Numbers. You should have a spreadsheet software called Numbers. Use that. And then, okay, for those of you, okay, what about Shobha and Jyotsna? Do you have a Microsoft Excel?
Yes, I have.
Okay, Jyotsna?
I'm trying.
Yeah, okay. You just click here and just type for Excel and you should be able to see it. All right, did everybody open some kind of a spreadsheet? And how did I get here? All I did is I went to a list, selected a couple of records, clicked here and clicked on printable view. That's all, nothing fancy. It's a printable view. And then from there, what I did is I dragged my mouse, click and drag your mouse, right? On MacBook, you may have to do it differently, Suzanne, you already know that, right? So I can just click and drag, okay? And then right click and copy. I copy this. Can everybody do that with me? Okay. And then go to numbers and then right click and paste special. So you just want to paste. Make sense? That's what I did. I don't have to paste it twice. Okay. So if you, for some reason you're not able to follow this, that's fine. We'll have another session dedicated to, we'll need 1 or 2 sessions dedicated to data, because if you notice here in the modules, data is 10% of the administrator's job. Okay. Or more than 10%. 1 second, let me show you. Salesforce admin guide. Okay, so if I go to admin guide, I go to certification. Okay, all right, I see an admin guide right here. And one of the items I have under admin guide is exam outline. Click on that. It tells you that data management is 10%. Okay, so you need to learn how to use some of this, and especially if you're planning to do data entry, this is your bread and butter. Okay, so let's go back I'll show you the steps very quickly here, but we'll revisit this. So let's say I have these records. None of the formatting helps, but what I want to do is I want to create a couple of records. So I'm going to delete this, right? I can either update existing records. So like, for example, Andy is not checked, right? I can make it checked, right? And then I can enter a name using the same format here, right? So I can say Smith _ Joe, and then this is the name of the company. I'll call it Blacker, and then name of the state is Kansas, and then this is sj@sj.com, and then this is new, and I can say created today, right? So today is 4/13/2020. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, and then you can assign the same user. If you have a different user, you can do that too, and I can add this also. Okay, now I'll add one more record just to show you, right? So if I want to add a record, let's say, let's say Princess. Okay, now Princess Cruises, and this is in California, and then I'll say at princess.com. So I'm just entering a new email address for this person, and same, these two details are the same. Okay, in fact these are new records, so I'll say unchecked. Okay, so all I have is 2 records, and I updated this 1 record. Correct. So what I want to do is I want to click on File, and then I want to do Save As, and I can leave it in the Downloads folder, or I can put it on the desktop. But instead of an Excel file, I'm going to make it a comma separated value. Are you guys paying attention? Yeah. So then I can say I'll just call this a sample import file. Right? This is a sample import file. It's a comma separated value. Comma delimited means same thing. Okay. I save it, and it is now saved. Okay. Now the main difference between an Excel file and a comma separated value is comma separated does not have any formats, formulas, or anything. Okay. So if you see here, this is a sample import. Even though I had the yellow highlights and everything, it removed all the highlights. If you had any formulas or any fancy logic or macros, it will remove all of that. Right? It will remove all of that logic. Right? So I don't want to make any changes, but I do want to import this data. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, go to my Salesforce account. Okay, let's go here, and I want to import the records. I click on import, and it will take me to the data import wizard. So this is called the data import wizard. Okay, so I want to import leads, so I'm going to add the leads, and then I want to do both, right? I'm not only adding new records. Okay, I'm adding new records as well as updating existing records. Okay. All right, and then what I want to do is I want to select CSV file. 1 second. Looks like I have to match lead by name, or I can match it by email address, right? Why is it talking about matching? Because I'm updating existing records, right? So otherwise, how does it know what this record is, right? So if you remember, I have 3 records. Which is the old record? Andy is the old record, correct? And these 2 are brand new records that I created. See, I created them today. These are created last year. Make sense? So for this record, I'm changing the information. And maybe I can even change the status, right? I can change this to new. I'm going to save this file and close it. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So it's asking me, okay, hey, how do you want to match these records? You want to match these records by email, and you want to assign them, assign new leads to this source. So you can say, okay, these sources are the web, and assign all leads using the standard administration. Okay. And let's select this. Give me a second for some reason. So I'm done with this step, and then I need to drag the CSV file here, right? Are you guys with me so far? So first you select what kind of data you're importing. What's the next step, Abhinav?
So after you select what kind of data you're importing.
Yeah. Then you want to say what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You want to either add new records, update existing records, or do you want to do both? Okay. Doing both, what is it called? Add new records is called insert. Updating is called update.
Absurd.
Absurd.
You're being absurd.
You're being absurd. All right. So we need to update the records. So this is called absurd. Absurd is updating and inserting at the same time. So let's drag and drop our file here. Okay. So, all right. Are you guys with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So add the file, and I say it's a comma separated value, and then I click on next. Right. So a name is name. Right? This is in Salesforce. This is the CSV file header. Remember, the CSV file had a header. So what is a header? Header is the top row in an Excel file. Correct? This row number 1 is not a record. Correct? It's just a header. How many records do I have in this file? Jyotsna?
3.
3. Correct? So it knows, the way it knows the information is by when I do the mapping. So it says, okay, email, sort ascending or descending. CSV file has an email. Okay, so I can check for the email and map it. Okay, and then the created date, again, we already know how to map the created date. I'm going to search in Salesforce for created date. Is there a created date here? There should be something called created. Let me search for date. Wow. Okay. Map your created date field. Let me check if there's a field called created. And if I don't map it, then that data won't come in. Unless it's a required field, it will just ignore that data. Okay. But I want to try and get that information in, because that is part of the, for some reason, I'm not able to see it. Give me 1 second. Let me check again. Lead status, industry rating, converted. Email bounce date. That's useless. All right, I'll just randomly map it to one of the date fields for now. Okay, owner alias. I don't think we are mapping the owner alias. I don't know why I think the CSV file, because I exported it, has some information that I just don't need right now. But let me map it, or I'll just. I need to map it, right? So let's go to owner. Right. So this is the lead owner. Okay, so I have all these fields except this one where I messed it up. I can even just not map it. Okay, for some reason the email date field is not there, but it will actually probably use the current field. So it will ignore this mapping. Okay. So now it even shows me an example. If you remember, I created Joe Smith and Pony Princess, right? So it shows me those 3 examples. And then I click on next. Okay, so it says, okay, hey, you had 8 fields, one of them mapped. How do I know how many fields I had? But I can just count here, right? These are 8 fields, right? See, these are 8. All right. Then I click on Start Import. It'll say click OK to start. And this one should be quick. Some of them can take some time, but this one, it says the type. What is the type of operation here? Upsert, right? Status is done. And all I have to do is, and you can see the result of our request. It says status is completed. That means I should be able to go and see the records. So let's go and see the records. Okay. All right. So I go here and go to leads. And see here, these are today's leads. And the created date is auto populated. That's why it was not letting me insert a random created date. Right? Because these are the date, this is the date the records got created in the system. Does that make sense? So it controlled everything. Alias, and these were unchecked because these are new records. The status is new, right? So it brought in everything. I thought we also had one more field called Andy Young. So let me search for Andy Young. So I'm going to open all open leads. And if you see Andy Young earlier, remember, who remembers the status of Andy? Anybody? Nobody remembers the status of Andy? So Andy's status was closed earlier, right? Now, what we can do is if you want to find out what happened to Andy's record, you can click on Andy. And here under detail, you can actually check. It will tell you, hey, it was last modified today. Okay. All right. So that's a quick overview of how to import your records. All right, Shobha, did you have any other comments? Yeah. Okay. So now there are several ways of doing this. This is one of the quick and dirty ways of importing your records. Okay, so the tool we used is called the data import wizard. We'll do it hands-on also, tomorrow later. Tomorrow I want to focus on the mobile apps. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No.
You guys are good? Okay, cool. All right. So, all right, it's time to show our trail heads. So I'm logging into mine. I want everybody to log into their trailhead. Are you guys, you all had a chance to work on it over the last couple of days?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, if you remember, my last number was 6,000-ish, right? So I did a couple of batches recently, and I am at 7,200. Okay, of course, Kevin has 50 badges and like 20,000 plus points. So Kevin is the leader here. But all right, I need everybody to send me screenshots. Yeah, of course, feel free to ask me any questions as you do that. All right, guys, come on. All right, go ahead. Did anybody send me?
Sending now.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay, I see Jyotsna's snapshot.
No, it's not coming. Actually, I was in laptop.
Okay, send a picture. You can send a picture to our WhatsApp group also. That's fine.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, I am looking at Shobha's score now. Oh, wow. All right, Shobha, this is pretty good. 10,000 points. That's really nice. So what kind of modules did you do? Like, did you try to do the admin or
Reports
user
and user
basics?
module
Yeah, nice,
and admin beginners.
nice. That's pretty good. Can you do me a favor? Can you take a link and send an email either in the WhatsApp or an email to me? That way I can share it with the group. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Suzanne, you're up. Jyotsna, why
Yeah,
don't
I
you
sent
talk
it.
to the score you got? Why don't you type a message? Tell me what you
No, I
had.
sent it to WhatsApp. Yeah,
You
I
said
sent
it
it to
was
WhatsApp too.
okay. Good job. Good job. Okay, cool. All right.
It's
All right.
4 badges, 2,775 points.
Oh, that's fantastic. Nice, nice.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. You guys can talk about the trails and then make sure you are sharing notes and you're all learning this together. So I want to make sure you guys, you know, um, are able to work with each other, ask any questions. And Kevin and Shobha have been doing this for the longest time, so they have a lot of context too. Okay, Suzanne, I'm still waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm logging in. I have some network issues. 1 minute, I'll send it.
Okay, cool. All right, while we are doing this, does anybody have any questions? Anything you want to do or any suggestions?
Can you give us some task?
Yeah. So we'll do project next week. So this week, what I want to do is over the next, 5-6 days, I want to try and cover all of the key basics for a couple of reasons. One is I want to make sure everybody has at least a quick, broad brush. We'll revisit some of these topics next week in our project. So project will be next week, but for this week, instead of me giving you tasks, I want you guys to do trailheads. Okay, so talk to Kevin, talk to Shobha, and then get some trailheads. I'll also share on my screen some trailheads. Okay, see, if you just search for user basics, right? All right, looks like Suzanne sent her a screenshot. We'll take a look at that. Okay, so that's good. Okay, looks like everybody has around 10 badges here. That's neat. Okay. Okay, now okay, so if you go here, this gives you 300 points. You can do, cloud basics, sales cloud basics. You can do service cloud basics, campaign basics, just the topics that we have covered so far. You don't have to do everything, but some of the things that are relevant for you, you can do those. Okay, and then the next thing is we can also do admin beginner. Okay, Suzanne, are you making a note of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do admin beginner. If you go to admin beginner alone is like 9,400 points, right? So Shobha, did you complete this or
Yes.
are there?
No, yes,
Yes.
I had. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. See, this is pretty good, right? So you're learning, pretty much every.
1 second.
Yeah.
I finished everything. Like last one in the reports and dashboard lightning experience, extend your report strategy with app exchanger. That one I can't able to do. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's good to know. So I'll cover App Exchange tomorrow, just so we can just
Oh,
get you to finish this. So that's good,
oh,
right? So you'll get a super badge also when you finish it. But you see, we covered a lot of the reports.
yeah,
Jyotsna,
remaining everything like we covered, I think.
yeah. So user engagement is basically, user adoption, just some basic information about how to customize information, right? We need to cover some of the mobile apps, so we'll do that maybe tomorrow. This one is lightning experience, so you learn how to create apps, views. We did a lot of this we did on our own too. So now if you do this, it will give you a pretty good sense of how to, it will basically help you learn your skills better, right? So it will help you remember and apply some of the skills that you've learned in class. So this is a good way for you to learn. And of course, any topic that you have not learned with me, you can just make a note of it and we'll cover those because some of you joined at different times. So we'll go through those later. Okay, so tomorrow what I want to do is I want to cover two things. I want to spend like 15-20 minutes talking to you guys about the app exchange, right? And then we'll spend majority of our time on the mobile app customization. Everybody here on the call has a cell phone, correct? So before coming into class, install the Salesforce app. Okay. All right. Okay, that's pretty much it. You guys good?
Yeah, we are good.
Okay. All right. I'll see you tomorrow then. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.